There we go. Hopefully the cable TV people can edit this part out. And just final check, cell phones off, pets off the desk, including mine, and try not to rattle papers. Thank you.
I apologize ahead of time. I have 2 large dogs and they are downstairs at the furthest point away from the house. If they happen to bark, you'll hear them.
Well, if you have headphones, that can shut out. Oh,
I
that's
do
okay.
know.
We'll get you done first anyway.
Okay. Welcome to Middleton's Candidates Night. Good evening. I am Karen Sheridan, the president of the League of Women Voters of Topsfield, Boxford, Middleton, and Georgetown. I want to welcome you to this virtual Candidates Night. The League is a multi-issue, volunteer, nonpartisan organization working to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in the democratic process. As such, never supports or opposes candidates or political parties. We do, however, take positions on issues we have studied. We applaud those of you who are running for office tonight, and you, the public, who are taking the time to become informed about the issues and the candidates. Since we do not have a live audience, we have asked Georgetown residents to submit questions ahead of time. A reminder, the election is Tuesday, May 17th at Fuller Meadow Elementary School, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Town meeting, Tuesday, May 10th at the Howe Manning Elementary School Gymnasium at 7 p.m. As is our custom when sponsoring candidates nights in Topsfield, Boxford, and Georgetown, we turn to a league member from out of town to moderate to preserve an unbiased, neutral ground. Tonight's moderator from Georgetown is Amy Smith. Take it away, Amy.
Thanks, Karen. Welcome, everyone. And I just wanted to thank the audience for joining us, and thank you too for submitting your questions. You were very generous with your questions, and we couldn't use all of them, but we have combined, if there's questions were similar, we tried to combine them. So if you don't hear your question exactly, we probably used it in some form or another. We're going to start first with the electric light commission race. We have one candidate who was able to be with us tonight. So Mr. Chang, he gets to make a statement. So please proceed.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Gregory Chain. I live on 14 King Street in Middleton. I've been a resident here for 12 years. I've been employed in the electric industry for the past 32. 14 of that was for the National Grid, and my last remaining years, and currently employed by the Marblehead Light Department in Marblehead, Mass. I believe what I bring to the table is experience and knowledge in both the investor-owned and for the municipality And through the years, I've gathered that. And it's my first time running for political office. And there being an open seat for the Light Commission, I feel I can bring that knowledge and experience with me for whatever the Light Department may be involved in and may need. So please consider me for this, and hope to see you on May 17th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed in ballot order for the races. The rotation for order of answering will go, the first question will go in ballot order, and then we're going to rotate. So each candidate will have the opportunity to answer at least question once, the first once. So we're going to start with elementary school committee. And Ms. Bansfield, you get to answer this first. How do you feel about towns that have implemented DEI initiatives in the elementary school curriculum in particular, how neighboring town Danvers is, I'm sorry, how do you feel about towns that have implemented DEI initiatives in the elementary school curriculum? In particular, how neighboring town Danvers is describing what they will be doing. Are you in favor of this in Middleton Elementary?
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting our candidates night. Speaking specifically about the situation in Danvers, where a DEI director was hired and children in grades pre-K to 6 were read books about gender identity and transgender ideology, I would not support this initiative in Middleton. This topic has become highly politicized, and I think it is very important to keep our focus on academics and leave the politics out of the classroom. Unfortunately, the entire DEI discussion around gender identity has become very polarizing. I want to say that I support the LGBT community. I have a brother who is gay, and I have always been very supportive of him. I believe that gender identity and gender dysphoria are medical diagnoses. I think that students and their families should absolutely have these important conversations at their kitchen table or in an office with a medical professional like a pediatrician and a counselor. Additionally, I would encourage parents to reach out to the principal, the teacher, and our amazing support staff within the schools. I know that they would be received with open arms. I think the most important thing for every student to feel is that school is a place where they belong, no matter what their gender, religion, or race. We should continue to model kindness and model acceptance of all students, no matter what the circumstances.
Thank you. Mr. DeBonis.
Thank you also to the League of Women's Voters. Appreciate the time. I feel that the focus should be on education, on academics, reading, writing, mathematics, arts, and sciences, along with athletics. I'm not in favor of the DEI initiative posed by the state. I do not agree with the Danvers read out loud books K through 5. I do not feel that this is a top priority for our education, at least on the elementary school level. I feel the focus needs to be back on base and helping children deal with the lost time during the pandemic. I also agree that if a child does have issues and if there are DEI issues, that it is a family matter, and I think it should be dealt with at home and also with the support of the school and possibly faculty members that are inclined to deal with those particular issues.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you. I think that recognizing and supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion are important parts of the school district's mission. I think it's essential for students to feel a sense of belonging in our schools in order to really thrive. They won't be successful if they can't be themselves and have those around them respect and support them. I haven't surveyed all of our neighboring districts, but I did see the details of the effort that Danvers has been undertaking since 2018. And I'm impressed with the scope and dedication in terms of training for staff, as well as the activities and programs they've instituted for the students across a variety of grades. Despite those efforts, there have been several highly publicized incidents in the last few years that illustrate that these initiatives take time and require regular reinforcement. I believe it makes sense for the district to continue with the Commonwealth's curriculum frameworks and to begin or continue to have the staff utilize culturally responsive teaching practices.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll start with you, Mr. DeBonis. What is the main reason you are running for school committee, and what do you feel that you would bring to the current board?
I believe I want to be first and foremost a proponent for positive change. I've always been a strong believer in community service and giving back. I want to contribute to the betterment of our children and their education. I believe I'm a level-headed person, and I think I could add value to the school committee and the challenges that lie ahead. The challenges that I've had in my life and in my business, I feel that I can take an approach that can reach across, some lines and bring some people together. I think there's been a lot of adversity, and I think there's a lot of division, and I think we all have to listen a little bit more and understand each one of our views and try to get what the focus for me is: the children and their education. And if we could all work together, I think we can add to that school committee and the job ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, over the last several years of watching and attending the school committee meetings, I've observed several behaviors exhibited by the committee and its members that I've disagreed with. One particular behavior was an unwillingness to and a seeming disinterest in considering alternative viewpoints when making decisions on behalf of the entire school community, leaving large parts of the community feeling disenfranchised and that their needs were unrepresented. I think if you're unhappy and with something, it's important to step up and be part of the solution instead of idly complaining or expecting someone else to do it for you. In both my personal and professional lives, I make a point of working to understand the issue from multiple viewpoints, researching it, and working with stakeholders to identify trade-offs and potential alternatives before making a decision. I work hard to do that in an equitable and empathetic way that considers the interests involved, because in most situations, it does not need to be a zero-sum game that leaves people feeling like winners and losers. That mindset and approach to collaborative decision-making is something I would bring to the committee if elected.
Thank you. And Ms. Bansfield. You're muted. You can start over. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Sorry. I originally ran for school committee back in 2019 with two goals in mind. I wanted to work to improve the lunches, and I wanted to create a pen pal program that would pair up second and third graders with seniors in Middleton. In May of 2019, the voters entrusted me to be their voice on the school committee. Just 7 months later, the role of educators, administrators, and school committee members changed dramatically, as did the everyday life of all of our residents, especially our children. In the midst of the early days of COVID, closed schools and remote learning, I was also thrust into the chairperson role. I rolled up my sleeves and I worked quickly to navigate the decision-making process using facts and available funding versus politics and emotions. Though it was essentially baptism by fire, I have honed my leadership skills and toughened my skin. I took a lot of criticism, and it was hard on me and very hard on my family. The process was difficult, but it has fueled my resolve. Through the pandemic, I was able to see the good in our community, the teachers who were scared but showed up for their students. Thankfully, we seem to be in a better place at this point. I would love the opportunity to participate in the school committee where the focus is on improving things versus surviving the highs and lows of the pandemic.
Thank you. Question 3, we'll be starting with you, Mr. Smith. What do you feel would be beneficial in helping children affected by the loss of learning time during the pandemic?
In my experience, Middleton teachers already do this, but first is to practice empathy and understanding when interacting with students, particularly those who feel like they have or are falling behind. And recognizing that can sometimes be tricky, which is why establishing good relationships between the teachers, students, parents, and the administration is so important. 3 times a year, the teachers assess students and provide report cards. When there are gaps identified, the teachers use their experience and employ various interventions to help that student address them. I'm not a professional educator, but I trust that our highly qualified teaching staff can and will do that with the support of the administration.
Thank you. Ms. Bansfield.
I think it would be beneficial to stay the course and continue to do what we do well, which is to prioritize academics in elementary school. We are fortunate that the majority of our students were in person for class last year, and I think speaking generally, we do not have the large gaps and learning loss that other districts are experiencing. We should also continue to fund our schools and keep our class sizes low as we have done in Middleton for years. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. DeBonis.
Yes, I think the teachers have done an unbelievable job during the last couple of years dealing with the pandemic. I think they're our barometer and our window to our children, and I think they can see very clearly where the gaps are. So I think it's very important for us to work closely with those teachers and faculty to realize the deficiencies that need to be met and the lost learning, and implement a strategy for all students to reach the level they need to be at. I also think that time lost caused a lot of delays in socialization, and perhaps I think more after school programs, athletic programs, and stronger emphasis on art and music may help bridge those gaps. But I think we have to rely on our teachers and our administration to let us know where those gaps are and work closely with them to try to move forward and close those gaps.
Thank you. Question 4, and we're going to start with you, Ms. Mansfield. Provide your assessment of current teacher and administrator morale in the elementary schools. And given an increase in early retirements and decrease in the college student pipeline statewide, what ideas do you have to drive retention and attract candidates in the face of a potential supply shortage? Ms. Mansfield.
We have so many, thank you. We have so many great teachers, many of whom have been teaching in the district for 15 years or more. Since 2015, we have had less than 10% of our teachers leave the district for reasons ranging from retirement to relocation to non-renewal of contracts. This speaks very highly of the quality candidates that we hire and their strong commitment to their students in our community. I do not want to lose sight of how hard the last 2 years have been on our teachers. I think we're very fortunate to live in a community that we live in, and for our students to be supported by teachers who show up every single day wanting to help our students learn. As far as being worried about finding candidates in the face of a potential supply shortage, it's impossible to predict the future. Coming out of the pandemic, we are seeing changes in many sectors of the workforce, even beyond the typical fluctuation that occurs from year to year. I do know that Middleton is a desirable district to work in. For example, last year, a teaching position posted attracted hundreds of applicants to submit their resumes, and that resulted in yet another outstanding teacher joining our community.
Thank you. Mr. DeBoners.
Yes, I think, again, our teachers did an unbelievable job in the last couple of years. I think that what we need to focus on with the teachers as far as morale, I think there's a level of optimism. I think a lot of us have the feeling that the worst is behind us, although we have other challenges that are presented to us. But I feel, in speaking to many teachers, both in this community, outside the community, there is a level of optimism in trying to get back to what's important to them. As far as, giving an increase in early retirements and decrease, I believe, being a teacher is a calling. I think teachers and faculty members want the freedom to do what they love. They want to help nurture and expand young minds. Unfortunately, after speaking to many teachers and faculty members, their jobs have been overshadowed by policy and politics. This is not what they became teachers to do. Let's give them back what they love to do. I also think we must maintain good facilities and provide the tools to help our students learn and have the teachers teach.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith.
I was going to comment on morale in the context of the ongoing contract negotiations between the teachers and the school committee, but earlier today, Dr. Carrero, the principal of Fuller Meadow for the past 12 years, announced her resignation at the end of the school year. I expect that this will be an even larger hit to teacher morale because our teachers were already feeling disrespected, underpaid, and underappreciated. Our elementary schools have a stellar reputation. We need to ensure that the reputation as perceived by our teachers and the potential teachers is also positive in order to attract and retain them. But this recent development may indicate a longer, harder road ahead. Professionals consider a variety of factors, salary included, when looking for a job or determining whether to remain in a job. The work environment can play a large part and may offset some of the demand for higher salaries. Empowering teachers with the agency in their jobs and enabling them to focus on teaching our children instead of administrative work are two potential ways that this could have boosted morale.
Thank you. And our last question, and we'll start with you, Mr. DeBonus. What is your position on regionalization of our elementary schools?
I feel like most people, one of the most important reasons I moved to Middleton was for an outstanding school system. I feel that I do not believe in the real regionalization, and I think it would detract from our decision-making abilities and resources. I commend Middleton schools for staying open during the pandemic. If we were grouped together with other surrounding towns, we may not have had that luxury. I want to keep the school committee matters in our own hands, and I disagree with regionalization.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I'm in favor of studying whether or not to regionalize the elementary schools, particularly given the grants that were applied for and received earlier this year. For those that aren't familiar, the Tri-Towns received, I think, $130,000 to conduct a study on whether or not to regionalize the elementary schools. The school committee initially voted against accepting that money, but ended up voting 3-2 in favor of proceeding with that study. The Middleton Select Board, the school committee, and select boards from Boxford and Topsfield also voted in favor of proceeding with that study. There are obvious economies of scale that were realized with the formation of the Tri-Town School Union. And I wonder if there are additional savings that could be realized by the school district and by the town of Middleton that might outweigh some of the downsides. A completed study will give us additional information that we as a town can use to make an informed decision instead of merely speculating or dismissing the idea without proper consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Bansfield.
The pandemic highlighted how different Topsfield, Boxford, and Middleton are from one another in terms of their financial ability and their culture. If we were regionalized last year, our students would have been in remote or hybrid for the crux of the year. As a school committee member, I worry about the loss of autonomy that would occur if we were to regionalize K-6. We would go from five seats to 3 seats, making our voice smaller. Additionally, Middleton has always prioritized keeping class sizes low. Topsfield and Boxford have larger class sizes. If we were to regionalize, a student in a kindergarten class of 22 in Boxford would be able to move to a class of 17 in Middleton. I would be worried that this would negatively impact both our teachers and our students. Additionally, it's imperative that we consider the impact that regionalization would have on our town financially. If we regionalize, close to 80% of our budget would be managed by a regional entity, Masco and Essex Tech. And I think that local control is what has made our elementary schools so strong. I would ask parents and taxpayers, do you feel that you are represented and heard in Middleton elementary schools? Do you feel the same way about Masco and Essex Tech?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's now time for closing statements, and we'll go in ballot order on this. So we'll start with you, Ms. Bansfield.
I'm very proud that I led our school committee to prioritize in-person learning and safety and welcomed 80% of our students and staff into the building in the fall of 2020, all while most schools remained in a remote environment. We were also able to successfully support students and staff who chose to remain at home. It was not an easy decision, but one that I led with facts and support from a great staff and leadership in our schools. I wish I could say that the process didn't include a lot of difficult meetings and personal attacks on me, but I guess that's what I signed up for when I decided to run for school committee. While COVID and the physical and emotional well-being of our students and staff continue to be a major part of the policy and leadership provided by the school committee, that has not been my only focus. During my 3-year tenure, we've been able to keep level service while adding programming where necessary, all while coming in under budget. In FY 2022, we turned $129,000 back to the town. Throughout the 3 budget seasons, I have learned the way to successfully operate as a town is for boards to work in tandem across finance, school committee, town administrator, and select board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. DeBonis.
I feel privileged to be part of the nominee to be in school committee. I am new to this process. My intentions are to be level-headed and try to go along with basically any type of policy and be involved as much as I can in this process. I basically, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
In the end, the job of the elementary school committee is about governing our children's schools, not management or micromanagement. The committee is responsible for the mission and vision of our school district, monitoring the progress of the work done by the superintendent and their staff, and ensuring that the budget enables the district to accomplish those goals. The committee should also be a bridge between the community and the superintendent. I believe my personal and professional experience makes me more than capable of doing that while balancing the needs of the townspeople with those of our students, parents, and staff. My job, if elected, is to represent all of you, whether or not you have children in our schools. My pledge to each of you is that I will listen respectfully to you and consider what you have to say, whether I agree with it or not, and to research the topic at hand so that I can make my own informed decision and then work with the other committee members to govern in the best interest of our town and school community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we will go to the regional school committee. And the first question, and we'll start with Mr. Bourgeois in ballot order. How do you feel that the current school committee is performing? And what do you feel your biggest contribution would be if you were elected?
Thank you very much. So I have a great deal of respect and admiration for school committee members and elected or appointed public officials in general. I've worked closely with school committees in my role as a superintendent and have seen firsthand their dedication to serving the best interests of students. Although they did not always agree and many times were publicly criticized, they always were professional and respectful of all opinions. I believe that the current committee has performed well and has deliberated in good faith to make informed decisions after careful consideration of all available information and data. If elected, I believe that my biggest contribution will be in bringing 38 years of experience at all levels of public education to the decision-making process. I will bring a fresh set of eyes and a new perspective to analyzing current and future challenges. I would be honored to serve with the current members on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Courier.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. And to answer your question, I feel the current school committee is lacking diverse opinions and perspectives at the table, and I think it's impeding on their ability to succeed. When you look at the school committee stakeholders, you think of three main groups: students, parents, and taxpayers. Our current school committee is made up of 4 taxpayers and 7 parents with kids currently enrolled at Masco. There's not a single committee member who represents the students' interests. The committee continuously asks and wishes for student engagement and input, and I think I can't think of any better way to represent the students' interests than to elect me to be their voice at the table.
Thank you. The second question, we'll start with you, Mr. Courier. What do you feel are the biggest issues facing students in middle school and high school? And how do you plan to address them?
So I think the biggest issue for students in both schools is clearly in the arena of mental health. I believe mental health needs to be one of the next committee's primary goals in addressing. There are many ways we can look into addressing this issue. I still believe we need to do a little more work at identifying and pinpointing exactly where we're seeing these issues. One place we have identified an issue is the involvement in extracurricular and athletic activity, specifically among the sophomore class. If you think about it, this class, they've never really had a normal year of high school. This year is their most normal to date. I think we need to partner with clubs we already have at the school, like the peer leaders and student council, to better advertise these clubs and sports for the students. I know the peer leading program does already have an activity fair, but if it's only designed for the freshmen, I think next year it should be open to all grades so we can boost participation among these groups.
Thank you. Mr. Bourgeois?
Yeah, I believe that the biggest issue facing our students is their ongoing recovery from the pandemic with regard to making up learning loss and addressing mental health issues. We encountered a once in a 100-year global pandemic that had no playbook or manual on how to respond or proceed. As a result, we became very divided and polarized as a community, and our students have suffered many of the unintended consequences of that division. I recently had a discussion with a Masco student who pointed out that student relationships with teachers and counselors have suffered, and the connection just isn't the same as during pre-COVID times. Another recent graduate that I spoke with concurred and mentioned the need for additional mental health supports for struggling students. We discussed how mental health issues were on the rise pre-COVID and the need for additional adjustment counselors in the schools moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. On question number 3, and we'll start with you, Mr. Bourgeois. How have you been engaged with Masconomet, the school committee, and the current issues that Masco is facing? And what is the most important issue you see for the school community?
So I've been engaged with the Masconomet community, meeting with students, alumni, parents, and taxpayers to learn about their thoughts with regard to what is working at Masco and what they view as challenges moving forward. I've met with individual school committee members to get their valued thoughts and perspectives as well. I've attended school committee meetings in person, through live stream, and by viewing video recordings. As mentioned in my previous answer, I believe the biggest issue is pandemic recovery. I believe that an additional component in addressing that issue is helping students manage stress levels. In the last Youth Risk Behavior Survey from ASCO, when asked the question, how much of a problem is stress in your life? 53% of high school and 30% of middle school students responded, often or always. It is important to note that the survey data was pre-COVID and has only been compounded by the effects of the pandemic. Thank you.
Mr. Courier.
I've been engaged with Masco since I started to go to work there 7 years ago as a student. I was the treasurer of the executive board of the student council. I was the peer leading captain, which is a group that mentors freshmen. I was the egg hockey captain. This has allowed me to get to know the concerns of many different populations within the school. I've gone and contributed to almost every school committee meeting for the past 2 years. The biggest issue Masco is facing is learning loss and emotional damages caused by the pandemic. I saw these problems coming firsthand, and that is why I sounded the alarm in October of 2020. Boston 25 News interviewed me, and I stated, the administration and school committee are forgetting about mental health. Yes, physical health is important, and you can see it, but mental health you can't see. I sounded this alarm to deaf ears a year and a half ago, and we're dealing with the consequences now.
Thank you. Question 4, and we'll start with you, Mr. Courier. Fewer than 15% of Middleton households have a student at Masco. How will you balance the interest of current and future students with the interest of the 85% of parents and taxpayers, well, not parents, but taxpayers who do not have students at Masco?
I feel this question is assuming that the 85% without children in Masco do not care about the success students have. Everyone in the Tri-Town is invested in seeing the students at Masco succeed, and everyone's property values are directly tied to the success that the students have in the building. Now, with that being said, I think it is easier to place more of an ask on the member towns when they see their monies are being put to good use. We keep asking the taxpayers for more and more money when they're not seeing the return on their end. If we don't get the school back to where we were in the rankings when my parents attended the school, it will be more and more difficult to ask for more money, and as it should. Our taxpayers deserve to see a return on their investment.
Thank you. Mr. Bourgeois.
The Tri-Town region is blessed with residents to support investing in the education of future generations of Tri-Town residents. Taxpayers should expect that their hard-earned dollars are being allocated and monitored transparently, effectively, and efficiently. If elected, I'll bring 10 years of experience managing school budgets and developing and implementing 5-year capital budget plans to this position. I have found the best way to reduce local tax burden is to advocate for a greater share of state support. We need to aggressively engage our legislative delegation to increase the $30 per student minimum aid requirement, regional transportation reimbursement, and special education circuit breaker line items in the state budget. I will also use my experience searching out grant opportunities that both enrich the student experience and relieve some of the tax burden on Middleton residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 5. How do you plan to work with parents and staff to make their concerns heard? And we'll start with you, Mr. Bourgeois.
I believe that there are many ways to solicit input and work with parents and staff, and I would also include students as well. For example, I've had success administering national school climate surveys that went out to all 3 groups and produced meaningful data showing both similarities and disconnects, while providing useful data in planning improvement strategies and professional development. Also, all 3 groups need to be represented and engaged on their school council and meeting regularly with the principal to develop the annual school improvement plan for presentation to the school committee. The Community Relations Subcommittee meetings provides another valuable opportunity to engage with stakeholders and an open forum to listen and learn about community concerns and needs. Lastly, I will always make myself available to meet individually or in groups, electronically or by phone, anytime, any place. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Courier.
I have heard from numerous parents and staff members about the lack of responsiveness from the current committee members. If elected, I will look to use more targeted polling. The current school committee did this during the reopening process. However, once the results were in and 75% of the parents wanted to return to in-person education with COVID precautions in place, the school committee turned around and voted 10-1 against the parents' wishes and stayed with only remote learning. That is 91% of the school committee dismissing an overwhelming majority of the parents. I learned in my AP government class at Masco how to be a servant leader, and I will always serve as a servant leader and never turn my back on 75% of the parents. I will be responsive to the teachers and parents alike because responsiveness is one of the essential keys to building transparency.
Thank you. Question 6. And we'll start with you, Mr. Courier. Do you think it's important that the Masconomet School Committee protects Title IX and women in sports?
Women's sports, in my mind, always deserve protection, maybe more so now than ever. This week alone, 3 female Division I collegiate athletes have taken their own lives. This is a cry for help that needs to be addressed. My mom won Masco's first ever state championship by scoring the only 2 goals in the game and is now in the Hall of Fame at Salem State for both soccer and softball. 2 of my sisters played women's ice hockey at the collegiate level. One played Division III hockey and the other played Division I. It would be unsafe and unfair for my sisters to be expected to compete against transgender females. My mom was a 3-sport athlete her freshman year at Masco. No 15-year-old girl should be expected to have to try and compete on a soccer field with someone who has a biological advantage. I think everyone deserves to compete in high school sports with the gender they were assigned at birth.
Thank you. Mr. Bourgeois.
One of the responsibilities of school committee members is to set educational goals and policies consistent with law and statewide goals and standards established by the Mass Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. So yes, it is important that we protect Title IX. It's the law and the right thing to do for women in general, not just sports. I find the political rhetoric around this issue to be troubling on 2 levels. First, any policy proposal that limits the rights of a protected and marginalized population of students will be in direct violation of the student anti-discrimination law and is contrary to guidance established by DESE for schools. Second, I am concerned about the message that raising this issue in this context sends to LGBTQ students attending Masco. I believe that we're better than this, that our community is better than this, and that our LGBTQ students deserve better than this. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 7, and we'll start with you, Mr. Bourgeois. This is from a parent who has family members in the LGBTQ community and who also has family members who are racially diverse. How would you ensure that these various voices are heard?
I'm the parent of a gay son who struggled through school. He was bullied beginning in 2nd grade and suffered from depression in high school. I'm also the grandfather of a beautiful 3-year-old biracial little girl. So this issue is very important to me. I believe that you give rise to marginalized student voices when you create a safe school climate where all students feel empowered to speak freely and openly about issues and challenges that affect them. I also believe that you create this space by intentionally integrating the teaching of awareness, kindness, respect, and empathy seamlessly throughout the curriculum. It troubles my heart to see youth risk behavior survey data indicating that 15% of Masco High School students report being bullied. As I mentioned before, we are better than this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Courier.
I believe Masco already does a great job at making sure anyone who wants their voice heard has the opportunity. There is staff in the building that have an open door policy. I know at least for one, Mrs. DiNardo, the junior and senior vice principal, always has her door open, and she makes sure everyone knows that in the building. I believe this should continue. As for the school committee, I would encourage anyone and everyone to come to the meetings. I've been the only one in the audience, one of the only people in the audience for the past 2 years. So I would encourage anyone who feels they are not being heard to come to the meetings or take advantage of the resources in the buildings, because everyone's voice deserves to be heard. And if voices are not being heard, that is an issue that we as a committee need to address.
Thank you. Question 8, and we'll start with you, Mr. Courier. What is your plan for rebuilding and cultivating a productive and collaborative labor management relationship with the Middleton Educators Association?
So I assume this question is referring to the teachers union. I believe having a mother who was an educator in another district and a sister who is also an educator in another district will be beneficial in negotiations. I have an understanding for both sides, but there will be disputes and discussions every time a contract is up for negotiation. That's one of the non-negotiables of this job. And I'll be at the table to listen to all sides and to create a contract that is fiscally responsible and sustainable for the 3-member towns.
Thank you. Mr. Bourgeois.
The school committee acts as the employer for collective bargaining purposes. I have valuable experience and insights serving on both sides of the table, as the vice president of a teachers union and as a superintendent of schools. Unfortunately, I have learned that the traditional bargaining process is adversarial by nature and counterproductive to building a culture based on mutual respect and trust. I have had success at both schools that I have served as superintendent in implementing an alternative interest-based bargaining approach. This approach requires training and seeks to engage participants from both sides in a collaborative process. It seeks to understand and solve difficult issues together as a team while striving to reach consensus and building mutual respect and trust rather than tearing it down. If elected, I would advocate for consideration of this approach as a way to cultivate a more positive labor management relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 9, and we'll start with you, Mr. Bourgeois. What can the school committee do to address issues of racism, classism, gender discrimination, religious discrimination, xenophobia, and other forms of bigotry in our schools?
I believe that the school committee is addressing these issues through their racism subcommittee and the adoption of an anti-racism policy. I applaud them for having the courage and willingness to work on difficult issues that support minority and marginalized student populations. I also believe that Vision 2025, with its emphasis on district diversity, culture, and climate, is another example of school committee leadership that makes a difference in minimizing and eliminating bigotry in our schools. As an additional key component that I believe the school committee needs to address is in evaluating and monitoring the effectiveness of the policy and vision statement. Is it being implemented? How is it being implemented? How are we holding ourselves accountable for achieving meaningful results? What are the metrics or the data points that measure student impact in these areas? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Courier.
The school committee's role is to create all school policy. The committee just recently passed an updated anti-discrimination policy that protects these groups from facing various forms of discrimination. My role coming into the committee next year would be to make sure that the administration is enforcing this policy and to make sure the policy is effective in nature. Everyone deserves to receive a public education in a welcoming environment. Anyone who impedes on a student's ability to learn in the school environment should be held accountable by the administration. No acts of discrimination should be tolerated at Masco or anywhere in this world.
Thank you. And our final question, And we'll start with you, Mr. Courier. What are your ideas for attracting and retaining educators, instructional assistants, and substitutes in this current climate?
So this current climate has proven to be difficult in recruiting all educators. Although it is not the job of the school committee to hire anyone else besides the superintendent, our role is to make sure the administration has the tools required to make these hiring decisions. I think we have to broaden our horizons when recruiting educators. I think we should encourage the superintendent to look into hiring people with their education still at their fingertips. If we are only looking for already established teachers from other districts, it will be more of the same. I would be in favor of hiring fresh faces and let the grade A teachers we already have serve as their mentors. This will also benefit the teachers we already have because the incoming generation of teachers have their education and knowledge of the newest technology ready at the forefront of their brain and can mentor or our more established teachers with the new cutting edge technology.
Thank you. Mr. Bourgeois.
Attracting and retaining staff after a global pandemic has wreaked havoc in our schools is a significant issue for all school systems. I believe that Masco currently has 34 posted positions. I know that the officers of the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents gave testimony yesterday to the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, seeking the state's partnership and help in addressing this universal hardship. What I know is that teachers enter the profession because they want to make a positive difference in the lives of students. They aspire to a career that is intrinsically rewarding and financially stable. They are seeking to work in schools that have a positive culture and are energizing and enthusiastic communities of learning. I believe that these are the things that we can focus on, as they are all within our control. It will make Masco a more attractive and competitive option for education professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to the closing statements, and we will do this in ballot order. And that means we start with you, Mr. Bourgeois.
I am a candidate for this position simply because I believe that I have the experience to serve students, staff, parents, and taxpayers as an informed and effective member of the school committee. My primary focus will be on improving student learning outcomes, while at the same time seeking to optimize the school climate and atmosphere that students and staff experience every day. If elected, I will approach this work with an open mind and an open heart. I will seek input from stakeholders and always consider and respect everyone's point of view. I will work to build consensus, seek data to inform decisions, and elevate value and amplify student voices to the greatest extent possible. At the end of the day, our students are our future. And the reason that Masco exists, they are impacted the most by the decisions we make. Thank you for your consideration of my candidacy.
Thank you. Mr. Courier.
I have over 1,000 days where I woke up and chose to immerse myself in the Masconomet community. Masco is the place that I call my grandparents, parents, and my own alma mater. It is the place I can still walk the halls and say hi to Lynn from the lunchroom or to Miss Donardo in the vice principal's office. This is the place that I learned to give back. I didn't have to be a captain of the peer leading program where I mentored freshmen, or the treasurer on the executive board of the student council, or a captain of the hockey team. I got the pleasure of serving this community during my time at Masco, and I'm asking all of you to give me the opportunity to continue to do what I love and lead this school in the right direction. Masco is also the place where I obtained the tools that have enabled me to speak here tonight. The history department head, Dr. Story, encouraged me to attend a school committee meeting 2 years ago, and here I am. Without her and the encouragement of my teachers, community, and family, I wouldn't be here tonight. So I want to say thank you to everyone for your unwavering support, and I'm asking all of you to take a chance on me, be a part of history, and vote for me on May 17th. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And now to the final race for the evening, library trustee. And the first question, and we're going to be starting with Ms. Bennett, again in ballot order. What is your involvement with the Flint Public Library? How long have you been attending and how do you use the library currently?
Thank you for having us tonight. I have been attending the Flint since I moved to Middleton 12 years ago. I'll always remember the day former librarian Claudia Johnson asked me how Richard was. He was only 2 weeks old at the time, and I couldn't believe she remembered his name. My family and I go to the library weekly. On average, we collectively have about 25 to 30 books out at a time. My 7 and 8-year-olds have attended story time since they were months old and have continued with many other library programs. I have also attended library adult programming. The Flint is truly one of our favorite places in town. Loretta, Justin, Jessica, Charlie, Felicia, and Stacy always make us feel welcome and happy.
Thank you. Ms. Buser.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. This is the perfect question to lead off with. My husband and I moved to Middleton in 2005, and in the last 16 years, our family expanded with 4 sons, and so began our family's active connection to the library. Our children attended such a great array of children's programming in their early years. As well, we spent hours in the children's room reading books, using computers, and meeting with other young friends. My current use of the library is as your everyday patron. Life with 4 growing boys is certainly hectic and busy now, but I've never lost sight that the library is an information center, a community resource, and it's more than just a place to pick up books. In fact, it's the only place in town that brings the entire community under one roof. I enjoy school art shows, bringing my boys to the library to work on research projects for school, and of course, my own leisure research, travel planning, and when the timing is just right, I occasionally can sneak in to the library where it provides that library zen, and I can just sit in a chair and do my own reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2, and we'll start with you, Ms. Buser. What differentiates you from the current board members and your opponent?
I believe what sets me apart from the current BOT is that I am a parent of young children. I have 4 very active boys in the elementary, middle, and high school. We are most well known in town for our family's dedication to youth soccer, coaching, and serving on soccer boards. I have coached alongside my husband in basketball, but more importantly, have dedicated myself to being at any and every event for my children. What sets me apart from the current board, as well as my opponent, is my professional background. For the past 25 years to present, I have worked in healthcare setting as an LICSW, a director of social service, a social worker, and now as a Department of Public Health healthcare facility regulator. A little over 2 years ago, we were faced with unprecedented times when the COVID-19 pandemic began. I worked for the state and with towns' local boards of health to ensure safety and access to service was provided. I was in nursing facilities all over the state that were most hard hit by COVID, overseeing safety and health practices. I find great relief in the fact that the true crisis is behind us and that we can now work on living life to the fullest again. This experience working with boards and ensuring full access to services is a unique and important asset I will bring to the Board of Trustees and Library.
Ms. Bennett?
Hello. So like Mara, I also agree that there isn't a member on the board who represents families with young children. I bring a fresh perspective because my family and I are currently avid consumers of all aspects of the library. My use of children's library programming complements a board whose collective and current use is adult programming. When making decisions, I will bring a voice that represents families with young children. Both my opponent and myself have a common ground in getting our youngest community members involved in library activities. Where we differ is that my opponent has stated she would like to add a reference librarian. Reference librarians were necessary at a time when all answers and information at the library required special access. More content is universally available to everyone, so the need for a dedicated resource is becoming less popular. When you combine internet access with helpful, experienced, knowledgeable staff like we have at the Flint, the need for a dedicated reference librarian is unnecessary. My main focus would be getting more people using the library, all the library has to offer, and adding more hours to the library schedule.
Thank you. And question 3, and we'll start with you, Ms. Bennett. What is the biggest asset you would bring to the library board?
Sure. So I have a professional background in marketing, public relations, and nonprofit fundraising. As trustee, I would support the staff of the Flint to develop more creative ideas to promote library services. Ideas can include a library card drive or mobile book checkout at the park program. I would love to see a senior and toddler story time where our youngest and eldest community members can come together. I see a terrific opportunity to be a community liaison who is always listening and making sure that library programming and community needs continue to be aligned, promoted, and attended.
Thank you. Ms. Buser.
Hi. The biggest assets I will bring to the board is twofold. First, I am a social worker by training. I understand the importance of community connections and how essential a place like a library is to a community. Personally, I am invested in enhancing all opportunities for children of Middleton to access and utilize our amazing Flint Library. Throughout my career working with adults, seniors, and more vulnerable, I found significant value in bringing my children to work, to events with this older mixed population, and teaching my children of the value of multi-generational shared events and places. It is a passion of mine that I would bring to the Flint. Secondly, I have extensive experience managing facilities and issues facing a facility. I have skills in budgets with buildings and understanding the global importance of the safety and health for everyone, patrons and staff alike in any facility. These attributes I feel are essential to a trustee, as a trustee must have a bridged relationship with our community, the library, and of course, the library staff.
Thank you. Question 4, and we'll start with you, Ms. Buser. What is your vision for the Flint Public Library?
My vision for the Flint is one I imagine will evolve and change as I immerse myself in this new role as a trustee. But today, I could say that my vision is to work with the Flint and the Select Board to assure budgets and funding for our library staff, ensuring the availability of up-to-date training, and even perhaps looking at the possibility of opening more hours like Saturdays. Obviously, without a doubt, I know I will work to support Loretta to help grow her wonderful ideas for the future of the Flint regarding outreach, community service, programming, and collection development. As well, I will work to support David as he learns about our library and our town. I will support our wonderful library staff. It is important for the staff to be offered the most up-to-date information resources, literature, and programming so that they can be most successful. Policies are a responsibility of the Flint trustees as well, and I look forward to working with my fellow board members to update and expand services. Safety will always be a priority, as well as ensuring all patrons feel welcome and engaged in this amazing community resource. We have a beautiful building, historic space, and a place to expand our knowledge and appreciation of Middleton and the world.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett.
So I want the Flint to continue to be a welcoming environment for all in the true heart of Middleton, a place where everyone in town can meet and get the resources they need at every age and for every occasion. I envision our youngest community members attending story time as babies, then becoming students who meet after school for study groups. As young adults, they may attend a writing workshop and join the book club as mature professionals with an interest in fiction. They then may become a parent and visit the Flint again, this time as a Cub Scout leader for their twins or as an independent board director for the many committees that meet there. Their family could even lead them to socialize at the Flint as seniors, sharing stories of the first time they remember visiting the Flint as toddlers. My vision is for the Flint to touch and enrich every aspect of the thousands of lives lived in Middleton.
Thank you. And we'll go to closing statements now, and we'll go in ballot order, and we'll start with Ms. Bennett.
So first, I want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to attend tonight. And I also want to thank my fellow candidates. Many of us are parents, neighbors, and friends who made a decision to seek public office with a shared goal of improving our community. Our library is such an important part of town. Committees such as the Rail Trail Alliance, both the Republican and Democratic committees, the Board of Health, and the Stream Team meet there monthly. The town administrator conducts interviews at our library because it easily accommodates their needs. Community members attend book clubs, writers' workshops, story times, paint parties, and even Friday movie matinees. People come to the library to learn not just from the books on the shelves, but from each other. Our library has so much to offer. It is my goal to ensure that everyone is aware of all the programming and resources it has. I believe our library is underutilized by the community at large, and I will change that. I will support library staff by promoting library services at town events. I will work with staff to come up with new ways to get more people in the door. Once they are in, I know they will never leave. And I'm asking for your support in electing me library trustee on May 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Buser.
Thank you for this opportunity tonight. Life is a journey, and I have always felt most fulfilled and happy when I was engaged in meaningful endeavors. It is what led me to study social work in both undergraduate and graduate school. It is what led me to volunteer weeks at a time in various locations in Virginia, West Virginia, and all the way down to Mexico with Habitat for Humanity. Then marriage, giving birth to my children, and raising them became my #1 priority. Today, my kids are just a little older, and in the aftermath of COVID, I find myself again at a life crossroad where I have time to engage in meaningful volunteer work again. I am eager to gain your trust and to ask for your vote as trustee of the Flint Public Library, to be a part of this central entity that serves all ages in our town, to work with the library team towards greater visions of community unification, opportunity, and growth would be an honor. Please, on May 17th, vote for Maura Buser to join the trustees of the Flint. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates for participating tonight. And best of luck in the upcoming elections. Thank you to all the attendees who submitted questions and who showed up tonight. We appreciate your interest in civic things, all things civic. And don't forget, town election is Tuesday, May 17th at the Fuller Meadow School. And town meeting is Tuesday, May 10th, 7 p.m. at the Howe Manning School Gymnasium. Thank you again and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.